Oh, yes. Come on in here. Happy Monday to you guys. Hopefully you are having yourself a great month. You know what it is. Uh-huh. You know what it is. Go on and just do what you need to do. Come on in here. We're gonna give it a little bit of time. Let you saints get motivated to have this conversation.
Come on in.
Feels alright. Don't be trying to hate on me.
You know, not really hating, just
You
looking.
know what I'm saying? Baby.
Oh no, that will never do.
Oh yes. I'm in my key sweat mode. Baby. Oh, okay. Oh, I almost got hit in the face. Okay. Let me try to sneak one in. That's all I'm saying. Come on in. Really? That's what we doing today?
You love it.
All right.
You love it.
Listen, get on in here.
Come on in the room.
Tonight, we are going to have this conversation, people. And I'm going to go on and slide this down here because,
Slide it down.
again, I don't want to be forced to dislike anyone because Facebook has been so rude and muted my my message.
Please, sir.
And my video. So I don't want to have no attitudes with nobody. So I'm going to do the needful.
We would like for you not
and
to.
slide on down. You understand what I'm saying? So get on in the room, people. Go on and get into the room. We want to have this conversation. But before we get to having any conversations, the question on the floor is, how are you doing? That's the question. That's the question on the floor. The question on the floor is, how are you doing? How was your Monday? Did you have a great weekend? Was life wonderful on this weekend? I hope it was. Because guess what? It was for us. And you know what? We are getting ready to have this conversation with our family, our friends, none other than the village itself.
Come on.
All right. So
in.
the question is, how are you doing?
I am doing pretty good. I got
Praise
no
God.
complaints on tonight.
Praise God.
As somebody said, we always say on tonight.
Absolutely.
No complaints.
No
today
complaints.
Today was a good day. No complaints at all.
Praise
I make
God.
sure I don't have lipstick on my teeth, do I?
Oh, come on, man. No, you don't have no lipstick on your teeth.
Thank you. I can't
No,
be
you
looking
don't got
crazy
no
for the
cherry.
people.
No, you don't got no cherry chapstick on your lips.
Okay, just
You know what I'm
making
saying?
sure.
On your
Just
teeth.
making
You know what I'm saying?
sure, sir.
But so you had a good day?
Good day. How was your day
good.
today?
I had an amazing day. Like I told you guys, I don't have bad days. I don't. Why?
Tell me why.
Because
why not?
I have focused my heart and my mind to just be happy that I have gotten the ability to see another day.
Crack them eyes open.
For that reason and that reason alone, God deserves all the honor and all of the praise that I can give him. So I dare not disrespect him giving me another day. I dare not have a complaint on my lips, but these lips will have a praise and a thanksgiving on it because he is worthy to be praised. So I refuse to have a bad moment because I have a choice. And my choice is to be thankful and glad that God has given me yet again another day to enjoy. Huh? If you're out there, if you wouldn't mind going and putting your name in the comment field and let us know who's there so we can say what's up to you and greet you and welcome you to the village.
Yes, looks like Shanda is on tonight. Marshanda.
What's up, Shanda?
Hey, girl.
What's up, girl? Good to see you on tonight. So we're gonna have this conversation, and tonight's topic is.
You didn't do your song.
Oh, well, I was gonna do that after
Okay, go ahead.
I set it up.
Don't let me mess you
Why you
up.
get all up in my mix?
Because
Why you all
felt
up in
like
my
you
face?
felt like you
Huh?
were going ahead.
Huh? All I'm saying is, okay, so tonight we're going to have this conversation and we are going to have a marriage and relationship boot camp. And tonight's topic is going to be keeping it strong. Keeping it strong.
Built to last.
I was getting there.
Hmm.
It's also building your relationship to last. The steps that it will take for you to keep your relationship strong and healthy. And this is for the people who are already have you guys have found hit your stride. And even for those who might not be there, hey, you gotta have some. You gotta have a mark to reach, right? So this is your mark. Get to a happy place and enjoy yourself. Is that Vancy I see on tonight?
Vancy. Hey, girl.
What's up, girl? Good to see you on tonight. Thank you so much for coming on. We haven't seen you in a while. It's always good to have you with us. You understand what I'm saying? And if you're out there, if you're logged on right now and we haven't been able to see your name, I need to see your name so we can say hello to you, right? So, it's Monday, huh? It's after 9 o'clock. Oh, yes. You see these two beautiful faces sitting in front of you. That can only mean one thing. That means it's Marriage Village Mondays. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It's Marriage Village Monday, and we are about to have this conversation. Listen, if you are strong in your relationship, and if you're not strong in your relationship and you want to get there, then you have to build your relationship to last. Can I get a witness? Can I get some help up in here? You got to build your relationship to last. And the way that you build your relationship to last is that you take notes and you put things down and you look for help and you go out there and you try to figure out what does it take to be in a great relationship. You can ask questions, you can do researches, you can go all throughout the land trying to find answers. But guess what? You landed here on tonight, and that means we got some answers.
We got some answers for you.
Huh? Who goes there?
Help is on the way.
Help is on the way. So this is what it is. Okay. So we're gonna give you some tips that you need to be keep in mind of while you're on your way, right? While you're building this great relationship and this great marriage to maximize its full potential, right? That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to talk about on tonight. And that's what we're going to have you learn. Okay. So let's talk about it. So before we go there, Village, we want to hear what you got to say. What do you think? What do you think is a good thing to have operating in your relationship and in your marriage to make it be built to last? How can you build it to last? What principles should you be operating upon to have your relationship built to last? Good to see you on tonight, Stacy.
Hey,
thank you so much for coming on, as always. So yeah, you guys tell us, what do you think? What are some things that you think you should have operating, or any relationship or marriage should have operating in it, so that it can be built to last? Because that's what we're talking about, being built to last. Because guess what? We want to make sure that all of these marriages and these relationships, they last, man. I'm getting tired of seeing people get divorced. I'm getting tired of just seeing people break up, because it doesn't have to. You don't have to do it.
Facts. So Vancy said, first and foremost, God.
Huh? Say that one more time.
Line, first and foremost, if you want your relationship to be built to last, God has to be the foundation.
It has to be built on the rock. The rock of my salvation.
Deanna.
What's up, Deanna? Good to see you on tonight.
She says, Deanna says, prayer life.
Absolutely. You got to have a prayer life.
Come on, y'all.
Yeah, come on up in here. First of all, you got to make God your focus, and you got to have a prayer life. And that's vitally important, because if God is supposed to be the center of the circle, right? If he's not the center of the circle, then that means the circle is going to be off kilter. That means the circle is going to be off balance, right? So we have to make sure that as we're building this relationship and this marriage off of godly principles, right? We have to do it God's way.
Right. Huh? Shannon said anything outside of God is sinking sand. 100% correct.
No doubt. So we certainly want to make sure that we're building this relationship on God. We want to make sure that we're building this relationship on prayer. We want to make sure that we're building this relationship on, this is our first point, on good communication skills.
All right. So once you got God in prayer, here comes your practical.
Listen, your practical is you have to learn how to communicate, right? Because marriage and relationship is built on the ability or the lack thereof to be able to communicate in relationship or in marriage. If you have problems communicating, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a problem in relationship. What say you?
So, I always love it when singles are on here.
Yeah.
I love it when the married couples come on, but singles, it does something to me when the single people are out here, because that is really, you need to start getting this stuff down right now. Yeah. You need to, if you want to, first of all, every single person doesn't desire to be married. We get that. But if you're single and you desire to be married, or you desire to be in any healthy relationship, you got to know how to communicate.
You do.
You cannot expect other people to read your mind and just through some sort of supernatural power understand what it is that you need or what you want. So you have to be able to communicate and communicate effectively. We always say, if the receiver has not understood the message, then communication has not happened.
Yeah, communication has failed.
You can't, clear communication has happened, correct. It has failed, right? If I am trying to communicate something to Joe, and he doesn't understand the message that I'm conveying, then we don't have, it's not been a clear communication. Yeah. The channel is clogged, right? Or if I'm using words that he doesn't have, if we're not using the same definition for the word, then we're not clearly communicating. If he is using Webster's definition 1 and I'm on definition 3 in Webster's of the same word now, we're not clearly communicating. So you have to build that muscle.
Yeah, you have to build that muscle, and you have to grant grace for the receiver, You have to grant grace for the receiver on the other end of you communicating with them. You have to grant grace for them to not necessarily understand what you're saying, because if you're meaning one thing but they're interpreting it as another definition, as Cassie said, we have to start being able to communicate on the same level and on the same wavelength in a way that makes it feasible and pliable for us to be able to communicate. Elder Sis, good to see you.
Sis.
We're glad to see that you're back on this soil here in these United States. Yes. Glad to have you back. We did miss you and love you.
We did.
But you know what? We will see you.
On Friday.
Oh, yes. Okay. But again, number one, we have to build our relationships on strong and effective communication. Relationships are built on or torn down by communication. And if you're going to communicate, you have to communicate clearly, and you have to communicate in a way that both people can understand. Because guess what? If you're not understanding what I'm saying and I'm not understanding what you're saying, what is that? Ineffective communication.
Ineffective. And you also have to communicate often.
Absolutely.
Right? Sometimes it's not going to work just saying something one time, right? Sometimes you have to say things more than once for understanding to come.
Absolutely.
And so that's the other thing. You can't get frustrated. Well, I already told her that, or I already told him that. So what? What was the surrounding what were the surrounding circumstances when it was shared initially?
Absolutely. And let's say this, because I know we know that sometimes when it feels like a person is not listening to you, that can be frustrating, right? But
Facts.
this is the thing. Instead of being frustrated with that, why don't you take that as an opportunity to ask the question, okay, how can I better communicate this so that you can understand? And don't say it sarcastically, mean it from your heart and mean it with a good spirit and good intent so that it can come off the appropriate way. Because guess what? The goal is for us to stay together. The goal is for us to walk in a direction and be successful at walking in that direction. And if we're going to walk in that direction, we have to be effective in understanding and receiving communication, but also giving good communication with the appropriate heart and spirit behind it.
Vasi said, self knows self. We know what we are capable of and not capable of. Just be honest. Don't make decisions for one another before talking about it.
Absolutely.
Don't make decisions for one another before talking about it. Exactly. Communicate. So I wanna break that down just a little bit.
Okay.
So she said we know what we're capable of.
Yeah.
We know what we're capable of understanding. We know what we're capable of giving, right, in a conversation. And so we have to be real with that. We also know what when we don't understand something, right? Sometimes a person can be speaking to us and we don't want to act, we don't want to feel dumb, or we don't want to feel whatever. You can fill it in with whatever. And so we won't ask the necessary questions, or we won't stop them, or we won't slow them down to get clarity. There is no shame in getting clarity when you're trying to have clear communication and understanding.
Absolutely.
All right. Don't ever, excuse me, don't ever feel like you can't slow somebody down to get a better understanding of what's being said. And then she said, don't make, excuse me, decisions for one another before talking about it. I want to just zone in on that. Yeah. Because no matter how well you know a person in relationship, if it is a two-person decision, you can't go override that. We can't do that. Yeah. Right? If it is something, if the decision that you're getting ready to make in your relationship, in your marriage, in your home is going to impact both people, both people need to have the opportunity to weigh in on that decision.
Yeah, and they deserve your courtesy.
Yeah.
Your spouse deserves your courtesy. You should give them the courtesy of having the conversation with them first before you make a decision for the two of you. That's just not fair if you're not extending them that courtesy to ask them, okay, are we okay doing this? Is this something that we both want to do? And if so, how are we going to go about doing it? And we have to grant one another the ability to, we have to grant one another that space and the ability to have the conversation, grant them your grace, right? Mm-hmm. Grant them your grace so that you give yourselves and them the ability to have effective communication, right? And then we have to make sure that when we're communicating, we are actively speaking and actively listening. Mm-hmm. So you got to be operating in active listening while the other person is talking. If the other person is talking and you're talking, there's no way that you can hear to understand, because when you're talking, it's clinically proven. When you are speaking, you are not listening.
Correct. You might be hearing, but you're not listening.
There's a difference between hearing and listening.
I hear a sound, right? You hear just sounds. You just hear. You can hear any sound that is being made, but listening.
But I listen to a song.
Correct. Pausing, being engaged, like you said, being active, paying attention to the nuances that are happening. Yeah. Paying attention, even listening involves seeing, like it involves your vision, because when you're listening, active listening requires you to also be looking at the body language of the person that's delivering the message. You get right in there with them. Yeah. right?
Yeah.
So Vansi says we have to learn to adjust even if it's uncomfortable.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Phil Smedley is on.
What's up, Phil? Good to see you on tonight. What does Phil say?
He's Lord.
He always has good nuggets.
He said, top of the morning, Marriage Village family. It is important in marriage to seek and know what God says about it and how he views it.
Yeah.
It's important, its purpose, its guidelines through the word of God and Holy Spirit.
No doubt. What's up, Cordell Glass? Good to see you on
Glasses.
tonight. Good to see you guys.
Amy Kaluzny, hey honey.
Hey Amy. So tonight's topic is
excuse me.
Sorry.
Relationship boot camp built to last.
Built to last. So is your relationship built to last?
So we're talking about things, because every marriage is not, or every relationship is not in shambles.
Right.
Excuse me. Every relationship is not coming out of some sort of trauma.
Right.
Right. And we're not demeaning that because we've been in shambles and we've come out of trauma.
Absolutely.
However, there are marriages that are healthy that just want to hear, and people that are in relationships that just want to hear tips on how to make it strong, how to keep it going in a positive direction. And so tonight, we hope that this will help in that space.
And the goal should be to be in a healthy, God-based, God-fearing, communicative relationship where you're able to appropriately communicate. You're able to appropriately have the conversation. And one of the notes says, say what you need to say, good or bad. You should be, listen, if love abides in the relationship, right? If love abides in the relationship, we should be able to have a conversation about anything, because this is what Colossians 3:14 says. It says, above all these things, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. So if we're both putting on love and we're acting and talking to each other in love and communicating with one another in love, we should be able to effectively communicate, because love dwells in our heart and gives us the ability to allow everything to work together in perfect harmony, even when we don't necessarily agree. If love is there, love should be the reason and the source that you have the ability to communicate through the hard thing.
Right. And I know a lot of times people say, y'all always talking about communication. It seems like every week y'all talking about something with communication. You better believe that if you ever see the two of us, communication is going to be somewhere laced in what we're talking about for healthy relationships.
Well, it's funny that a lot of people talk about it, but the reality is a lot of people don't know how to effectively do it. So obviously it needs to be talked about, because a lot of people don't know how to effectively communicate. If you were raised in a home that communicated on a 5th grade level, but your spouse was raised in a home that communicated on a college level, there's going to be some communication breakdown, because there's going to be an understanding or a barrier between understanding on one side to the other. So communication is absolutely key, because again, it gives us the ability to have the conversation and do it appropriately. Because sometimes some people will have been taught that inappropriate communication is good communication, but that's not the truth.
Right, because the misnomer is that as long we might be yelling, but at least we're communicating.
If you're yelling, again, you cannot effectively yell or talk and listen at the same time. It can't happen. So we have to, first of all, grant one another the honor and the respect to communicate appropriately. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the next point is
built to last. Tip 2.
Built to last. Tip 2 is do regular maintenance.
The operative word.
Regular. Okay. See, this is what I feel to be one of the best things that you can do that will give your relationship the ability to be built to last, is when you do maintenance, even though you don't maybe necessarily have to be doing maintenance, but you do it anyway, because you don't want to run the risk of it not being good, right? So you do the maintenance. Cassie and I, we go see our spiritual parents, or we have a Zoom call with our spiritual parents once a month, just to talk about our relationship, just to talk about how we're communicating, and also to talk about the things that we have going on and process through the things that we have going on, process through even some of the decisions that we're making that can impact what we're doing one way or the other.
Right. So another way, and I just put a little sentence out there. Pulse checks are required to maintain the health of your relationship. So when you go for a physical exam, they check your pulse. Every physical exam, every time you go to the doctor, they're going to check your pulse. Why? Because they want to make sure that your pulse is at a certain level to know that you're in good shape, that you're in good health, right? If your pulse is not at a certain number, then they're looking like, okay, do we need to admit you? What do we need to do to get this? Do you need oxygen? What, they need to know what they need to do for next steps of care. Same thing with your relationship. You have to do pulse checks to find out, are we beating, is our heart still beating the way that it should be? Is the heartbeat of this marriage or this relationship still beating at an optimal level? Am I doing the things I need to do in this relationship to ensure the health? Is he doing the things he needs to do? Again, are we communicating properly? Are we taking care of ourselves? Are we balancing out the chores in the home? Whatever it is that you need to check in, just those check-ins, that pulse check to make sure.
And I found that having another set of eyes on how you're doing things is important, because you could be thinking that you're doing something right, but another set of eyes can see what's wrong with it. You see what I'm saying? And so, and then it gives you the ability to get a second opinion, even on the things that you think is right or valid or correct. You see what I'm saying? So being able to have somebody, who you allow in that space to give feedback, to challenge some of your theology and how you see certain things, because you need that, because some of your theology and some of the way that you see things are wrong.
I want to just slide back. We got two comments.
Let's go.
I want to slide back to Amy's comment about communication. Then I'm going to pull forward to Elder Swan's comment on the pulse check. So Amy said, communication is so important. And I've learned that my timing is crucial of making a point.
Absolutely. And yes, I like this. I think that's a great point, Amy, simply because, if you wake up and you ready to start talking, but your spouse is not a morning person, that's not going to be a good situation.
Not going well.
You know what I'm saying? So when you're saying something has as much importance to what you're saying, because if you're saying at a time where they're not alert and able to process what you're saying because it's early in the morning and they're not a morning person, fail. fail again. Okay, you want to move on to the next one?
Yes. Elder Sis said, yes, there is value in the pulse checks. We need to know if we're showing up for the other person the way we need to, or the way they need us to.
Absolutely. And everybody knows how Cassie and I get down. Like, if you are in that place with us in our life, you have the ability to share what you see and render information to us, because we're always working on trying to be the best version of ourselves in relationship with other people and with one another. So it's absolutely imperative that you share any information that can help us communicate and be better for one another, right? So again, we want to, number one, building your relationship to last requires work on your communication skills, working on your communication skills, and getting great at communicating even through tough moments. Number two, doing regular maintenance, doing regular checkups to make sure that the relationship the pulse is beating, not faintly but strong. Because if it's beating faintly, then that means there's something going on, and we need to address that, right? Number three is,
before you go, that matters of the heart will always impact the pulse of the relationship.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Y'all need to note that matters of the heart will always impact the pulse of the relationship. That's it.
No. I think that's good because again, the Bible talks about the heart is deceitfully wicked. Who can know it, right? And if it's a heart issue, you want to get that thing dealt with because it could be a trick of the enemy trying to get you guys to flatline. You see what I'm saying? And so when you are paying attention to that, the pulse of the relationship, you're paying attention to the condition of the relationship. It makes the difference. And the condition of the heart of the relationship is vitally important because it's the most important part of the relationship. If the heart dies, the relationship dies. If the love between us dies, or if the love between us gets corrupt, then there's a problem on set. And you got to do some work to get that dealt with because again, we want to make sure that the relationship stays in a healthy place. We want to make sure that the communication stays in a healthy place. You got something you want to say?
That was it. Hey, Nikki, love you, cousin. Our sister cousin just chimed
Good to see you, Nikki. But so number three is adjust. Adjust. I'm saying it harsh like that for a reason. Adjust your expectations. Because your expectations could be too high or your expectations could be too low. So you have to be able to adjust your expectations based off of realistically looking at where you are.
You definitely said that real hard, sir. That's why I was like, what?
You have to, because I think like, okay, when we do marriage and relationship mentoring or counseling, you'll find that a lot of people are operating within unreasonable expectations towards one another. And that is what's causing all of the major rifts and issues, because there's an expectation that's way up here and it needs to be lowered a little bit. You know, or there's a relationship way over there that we haven't even considered, that's throwing us offline. You know what I'm saying? So we have to make sure that when we get this thing, like, we have to be looking at our expectations and saying to our expectation, if somebody was expecting this of me, would I be able to fulfill it? Would I be able to live within the confines of that? And sometimes I find that when you look at it from that perspective, it will cause you to naturally reset your expectation.
Yeah, Lisa Hubbs, she said, adjust with compassion to understand.
Absolutely. Adjusting with compassion to understand is vitally important, because if you don't understand why a person does something, you can't appropriately just go at them, not fully understanding why they're that way. You know, and why having that expectation up there is not, or may be detrimental to their health in the relationship.
Yes, sir. So my question to the village is, what are some unreasonable expectations? What would you all feel would be considered unreasonable expectations in a relationship?
Expecting someone to be like you. I think that's one of the most unreasonable expectations that you can have in a relationship. Is when you expect the person that you're with to show up like you, when they weren't raised like you, they don't think like you. As a matter of fact, they're not you. And that is you being in love with yourself. So you need to stop being in love with yourself, so you can realistically allow a person to have, you can give them a fair expectation to live to, when it's not based off of what you think you do. Because guess what? Sometimes we think we do certain things when we suck at it. You understand what I'm saying? And so a lot of times it's very vitally important for us to be able to look at ourselves and take ourselves out of the equation as it pertains to what we expect or how we expect the other person to show up. Because you're not perfect and neither are they.
That's good. We got any others out there? Any other villagers? Where y'all at? Come on, y'all don't want nothing to do with that? Okay. All right. We got Lisa. She said, expecting them to change with no teaching of what you like or vice versa. Yes, that's
Absolutely.
unreasonable. If I'm
Unreasonable.
expecting you to read my mind or just to know what I like, I haven't shared anything with you. And sometimes, the excuse comes out, well, I've shared, but they just not paying attention. They're not getting the signals. They're not getting it. Keep on sharing.
Absolutely.
Sharing is caring.
Well, then you also got to look at it from this perspective, right? So what if how you're sharing it is not understandable? They can't understand how you're sharing it because you're too emotional or you're angry when you're saying it. And you got to understand, while you're communicating expectation, a person can be shutting down based off of your tones and your body language. You see what I'm saying? All right. Is that what the last one that she?
And then Vasi said, come open-minded and willing to learn about each other. Stop thinking you know everything. Amen.
How can you have reasonable expectations when that expectation is living alive in your head but nowhere else? You haven't, and we say this, stop expecting people to guess what you want.
Listen, there are so many spiritual gifts. The Bible talks about a lot of spiritual gifts. Mind reading in a relationship.
It's not one of them.
I don't know that one.
No, it's not one of them. And if you have an expectation for someone to just figure it out, well, you should be paying attention to you should be paying attention to me. Well, what if you're showing up in so many different ways? I
don't know which one to pay attention to.
It's system overload. I don't know what to pay attention to because you're just all over the place.
So as the person with the needs, you need to prioritize, number one, what is most important to you for your person that you're in relationship with to give you. All right. Or what are the things that are most important?
Yeah.
And make a list and talk about it, because I tend to find that if we go by order of importance, when you do the thing that is most important to a person or for a person, then you kind of have they give you there's a little bit more grace, right, to get to Alethea's point. She said,
go down. It's down here. Right there.
Expecting change within your timing, it may take some time, right? And that's the truth. But if I prioritize like the things that are important to me, then that grace for timing for the other things can come, because it's easy for somebody to maybe get a grasp on one thing versus a list of 20.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but if I see progress in one or two things, that it's almost like when you on a weight loss journey and you see those 1 or 2 pounds come off, it gives you motivation to keep going, right? And hopefully to lose more. Same thing in a relationship. When you see 1 or 2 things accomplished, it hopefully gives you that motivation, that more is coming. Amy said, exactly. We are so different, and my emotions trigger my husband. So I'm working on how to express myself to him effectively. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes we as women can be too much. It can be emotional overload for our husbands when we come with all of our emotion. But again, I applaud you, my sister, for working on that, and being really for owning that and being willing to work in that space, because some people just show up, no, this is just how I am, and he's going to have to deal with it. Well, not exactly. That's not godly. Right. Well, and so I applaud you for addressing it.
Yeah, because sometimes people, and you got to be considering the other person and where they may be or not be emotionally as well. Because if their emotional intelligence tells them that you're trying to use emotionalism to get your way, then that can create, a problem. And so you have to, I think both parties have to reasonably use their emotion within the confines of communication in the relationship. Both parties do. Because men can be emotional too, just in a different way. You see what I'm saying? It shows up different, but it's there. It's the same thing. It just shows up in a different outfit. You know what I'm saying? So we have to be willing. We have to be willing to understand. Okay, this is, your emotions can be smart. Say that with me. My emotions can be smart. My emotions can also be saved. Okay, you want me to show you how? What does Colossians 3:2 say? It says, set your affections, which is the mind and the emotion of the mind. Set your affections on things above. How do I save my emotions? Start thinking on God. Start thinking on the things of God. Start communicating like God. Start communicating like you've seen Christ communicate. That's why in Ephesians 5, number 1, it says, be imitators of Christ. Be imitators of God through Christ. Be an imitator of God through Christ. So what you see, if you want to bear the image of God, you take on the image of Jesus. You imitate Jesus. That's how you bear the image of God. So we have to understand that, yes, my emotions do not have to be out of control. Why is that? Because one of the fruit of the Spirit is, guess what? Self-control. So you don't have an excuse to say, I don't know how to communicate better. I'm gonna tell you to get yourself in your prayer closet, open up that Bible, and get to doing that work, because that's how you're gonna get better at it. Real talk. How did I get better? How did I get better at dealing with Cassie and learning how to not allow certain things to trigger me? I got myself in that prayer closet. I said, Lord, give me the ability to communicate with her and be untriggered as she's expressing herself through her emotions. Because the emotional bed is the place where most women will communicate from. Because that's how you're wired. That's how God made you. So, and we have to understand that. That's why 1 Peter 3:7 says, men, live with your wives in an understanding way, giving honor to them as the weaker vessel. Next part is so that your prayers won't be hindered. You see what I'm saying? So there's a way that we can understand women when we're looking through the lens of God and trying to understand them through his lens, and not through what we thought or what we expect or what we want to see. Because what you want and what you want to see can be opposite of what God wants for them. And I have to care more about what he wants for them than what I want to see from them. Jackie, thank you so much for coming. Is that Jackie?
Yes. Hey, Jackie.
What's up, Jackie?
Rhonda.
What's up, Rhonda?
Hey, ladies.
Good to see y'all on tonight. So again, we are talking about building healthy relationship. What does that look like? This is boot camp. So what's our topic one more time, babe?
Built to last.
Built to last.
Relationship boot camp. Built to last.
We are giving you keys to help your relationship be built to last, right? So the first point we had was work on your communication skills. Number 2, do regular maintenance. Make sure that you're not just doing the maintenance when you get in trouble, but you're doing you're doing what it takes, regardless of you being in a good place or not.
Listen,
right?
When you see smoke coming from under the hood, it's usually too late.
Listen.
You should have done that maintenance or that oil change or whatever needs to happen. That maintenance should have been happening, but when the smoke comes,
there's something going on. All right, number 3 is adjust your expectations. The next point we're making is create rituals. And be careful what we're saying. Hear what we're saying.
I changed it to routines.
Create routines. Really, that's what they're saying. That's what it is. What it's saying is create routines that can help hold the relationship together. Create routines that can help establish healthy communication, healthy way of walking throughout the relationship.
Yeah. So I said, like you said, create healthy routines, patterns of doing things together. Yeah. Right. Get in the habit of doing things together. If you are in a relationship. Okay, so for the singles, you still want to have healthy routines, right? Or get
Yeah,
into healthy patterns
yeah,
of kind of doing things that are fulfilling. For example, if you are a runner and you have that pattern or that routine of every morning you run at 6 a.m. or every evening you run at 4 p.m., whatever it is, to keep yourself in a healthy space. And I'm starting with singles again because here's the thing, there are things that you need to do just to stay in a healthy headspace,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I heard about the runner's high. I've never experienced that.
I
You know
have,
why? Because I ain't a runner
and it's
and I don't
serious.
aspire to ever be one. I'm running for Jesus. That's the running I'm doing.
I was just on one
Hallelujah.
last week. It's phenomenal.
Tyrone, I seen him
What's
come
up,
on here.
Tyrone? Good to see you on tonight.
Yes, but I won't ever experience that kind of runner's high. But what I'm saying is some singles, it is maybe going to the gym. You know, some is reading a book, taking time to do something that you enjoy.
Yeah,
Create that pattern of, you know, in that healthy relationship. And then if you're a married couple, you know, the article that we read talked about, you know, maybe a routine of every Saturday we're going to have, you know, breakfast in bed, and maybe you rotate. All right, last Saturday he brought me breakfast in bed, so now this Saturday she brings him breakfast in bed. Or you go on a walk together after work, or you have, you know, you do whatever it is, just find something.
or kiss one another before you leave work, something like that.
Oh, before you leave for work, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it doesn't have to be something major or monumental or that takes up a lot of time. It just has to be something that you hold yourself accountable to doing on a consistent basis. Because again, it's the little things that you do consistently that leads to great success, right? It's the little things, but it's also the little things that you stop doing that the word says destroys the vine.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of things that we can, the little things that we can do, like just um uh like thinking about like how your spouse likes to wake up, or your significant other, how they like to wake up. If they're more of a quiet person in the morning, giving them the opportunity to have that space. Or if your spouse is a person that is just like feet to the floor, jumping, running, moving, all that, just give them that space without having something to
Mhm.
say, so that they can get into their routine with no issue. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So the next point is
Maybe number 5.
number 5. Plan Oh, yeah, plan dates and surprises for one another. Yes, plan a date, fellas. Plan a date. Take some time out of your schedule to set the date up, do all the things. Like if you're going to a movie, you go on to fandango.com, purchase the tickets, tell her, hey, this is what time we're going. This is what we're going to do when we go. You order the food online, do all of that, because it's those little things right there that builds a healthy environment for love to live, and for there to be compassion and happiness towards one another in the house.
Yeah, and then plan little surprises. Like it don't
Absolutely.
even have to be. I mean, leave a note on their car. You if you have opportunity, just write a little love note, stick it on the windshield. When they get off work, they see the note there. And I mean, it's a small thing. Or buy a card. If you're not a person that wants to write in a blank card, you're not great with writing out your feelings.
Yeah.
Hallmark and mahogany, all of them. There's a whole line of cards, you know, different lines of cards that can say exactly what you're trying to say. But as a surprise, you know, just hey, I was
Absolutely.
thinking about you. And we probably need to get back to doing some of that, some of the
We do.
surprise
We
things,
do.
because we kind of have fallen off with the
Yeah.
surprises, like
Well, I
with
think
that.
we our life has just been in a different place.
Listen,
And
we've been,
now
who I was to say something, that's not the right thing.
don't
I
say
was
it.
to say something to the wall.
I
You know,
know.
I'm gonna,
Listen.
I was not gonna
Listen.
say.
We've been,
We've
our
been hitting
life
the ground.
the last couple of years have just been more planning and more setting up for legacy. And so sometimes when you're doing that, who's this? Oh, cuz, what's up, girl? We've been married for 18 years now.
No.
Or 17. It'll be 18
See, I
September
answered her
1st.
already. I knew what to do.
Yeah, so
we've been together.
We've been
18
together
years.
18, but we've been married 17.
Yeah.
And we'll be 18 this year, September 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
Say something else.
I mean,
say something else.
Nothing.
Okay. You know what I'm saying? But where was I at? Oh, planning dates and surprises for one another. Listen,
our life.
But we don't have no excuse.
No, you were saying about our life.
Yeah, our life sometimes, or lately, over the last couple of years, it was, we were living on a tight budget, and it was just certain things we just couldn't afford to do. But now we're getting back in a more financially healthy place, and so we can have those things. We can make those changes. We can go buy the shoes. We can get the jackets and stuff like that and surprise. So it's like, and you gotta, let me say this. When you've been in that place, you have to ease yourself back into the place where you start doing those things, because sometimes when you get out of practice, it's hard to get back into practice, but that's no excuse, right?
It is. And then also, if you don't have the budget for it, there are ways that you can do that without, you don't need a big budget to go to $1.25 Tree and get a card, right? Or go and grab two, I call it $1.25 Tree because it's not the Dollar Tree anymore. Listen, they also have a $5 section if you were not aware. But you can go and grab, for $5 or less, you can put together a little thinking of you bag where you can put 2 of those little lenders chocolates in it, a card, and
or speak into the future, get a vision board and say, this is how I'm gonna date you one day. One day soon, and very soon. This is how I'm gonna show up.
Whatever, get creative. Listen, is all I'm saying. There's
do what you gotta do, man.
There's ways.
Do what you gotta do. Bonsi says, keep the fire burning. It's so important. And she also says,
it's the small things.
It's the small things. Like, you don't always have to be out here buying $900 red bottoms and all this other stuff. Now that might not be a bad idea.
No, but I don't own a pair of red bottoms yet, but I saw a video with a young lady walking in them, and I did not want any after I saw how her feet was squoze.
Listen,
and it might have just been a sizing issue, but the way her feet looked and the way she was marching.
Don't be squozing your feet in them things, man.
I said, I'll stick with regular bottoms.
Yeah, man. So making sure, make sure, what does the sis say?
No, we gotta go. Amy said, something I've recently learned, that shutting down and giving the silent treatment isn't healthy for either party. Even though it may band-aid the argument, it builds resentment. That
absolutely,
absolute truth.
Don't be. Let's walk it. Let's walk that down. Making sure. Okay. I'm trying because I want to hit this the right way. The silent treatment is not always good because, let me say this. How are you doing the silent treatment? If the silent treatment is you being quiet and you're not rendering due benevolence, that can be a problem, because the word says when you do that, you open your spouse up for temptation.
Right. So for those that don't understand what rendering due benevolence is, so what he's saying is, if a person is given the silent treatment and they're closing their spouse off from sex, that is illegal.
That's dangerous
in a godly marriage. That is not allowed, because it opens the other person up for temptation. It opens them up to potentially be in a place where they might feel like they're tempted to step outside of the marriage, right? So that's what he's speaking to when he says, Jessica, hey sis.
What's up, sis?
That's what he's speaking to when he says, how are you doing the silent treatment? Because here's the thing. Sometimes it is better
to be quiet,
right, and to be silent. But when we talk about the silent treatment, what we're talking about. The silent treatment is an ongoing, prolonged. I'm shutting my whole person off from you, not just my voice, but my entire body, and that's where danger comes in.
Listen, don't do it. Don't do it. If you know what's best for you, Don't let yourself get in that headspace. And because sometimes you just never know how it's impacting another person. And you don't know the strength of that person's will. Don't test that person. Don't listen. Put no trust in the flesh. Don't trust that person's flesh at all, ever. Don't ever feel like they're so strong to a place that they can't fall. Don't ever believe that lie. Listen, do your part to make sure that you guys stay in that healthy place, and make sure that you're not adding to any issue that your spouse may be having. No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. We said plan dates and surprises for each other. Plan
so number
for roadblocks.
Built to last. Tip 6: prepare or plan for roadblocks. All right. So we're talking about things, the relationship boot camp tonight.
Yeah.
Built to last. And so things to keep the relationship strong.
Yeah.
Plan for roadblocks. Plan for things to come up. You're not always going to agree. Single people, get the fairy tale out of your mind that you're going to find him or you're going to find her and you're never going to have an argument or you're never going to have a disagreement. You may not ever, and I've seen people that have been in relationships that they've never had a shouting match where they're never yelling back and forth. But every relationship that I've witnessed or every person that I've talked to in a relationship has had a disagreement.
And you got to understand, number one, that you got to know that problems are going to come. You just got to know that problems are going to come in relationship. But have you planned for when they come? Because if you plan for when they do come, you'll have a plan to deal with it because you've been planning for it. You're aware that there's a possibility at all times. Right.
And you may not be able to plan for every event that comes up, right? But you can plan for, okay, when we have a disagreement, this is what we're going to, if it gets to the level where we can't talk, then we are going to, I'm going to take a walk or I'm going to go for a drive, but I'm going to come back. We're going to go to our corner. But in your preparation, there needs to be a plan for coming back together and regrouping in that same day. Right? Because
absolutely,
that's another thing. You don't want to feed into the abandonment thing that happens whenever there's a disagreement and one person needs to take some time, like take a walk or take a drive. And then that other person may be left thinking, are they coming back? This didn't end well. You don't ever want that feeling in your marriage of somebody not coming back.
And what it says here is it says, think about and discuss situations that can cause friction and plan to treat one another with respect before a disagreement happens. So you have to get to the place where, number one, we're discussing the things that could potentially lead to a bad place. You know how you wired, and both of you know how you're wired, right? When you know how you're wired, then that should be able to give you the ability to have these conversations and say, okay, if we have this is how we got to handle this. Like Cassie and I, we used to just, like she didn't understand why I would walk away sometimes when it would get heated. And I said, well, because I used to deal with anger. And so my way of dealing with my anger is to go walk the steam off and not punch holes in walls. Because that was the result when I was younger. I would punch holes in walls or fight people. So that wasn't a reasonable response. So now I had to change my way. I had to change my method. So when you see me walking, it's not because I'm trying to be rude or disrespectful. It's because I need to get away so I can calm myself down.
So that kind of rolls right into tip number 7: give each other